2 a.m. and she calls me 'cause I'm still awake. Can you help me unravel my latest mistake? Dropped a stitch about 17 rows behind me. There's no way I can pick it up from where I am. This is so frustrating.
Hello, and welcome to the Sittin and Knittin podcast. I am your hostess, Dianna. Today is Friday, December 7th, 2012, and I am podcasting from Southwest Ohio. And I would like to say welcome to the podcast. I want to say welcome to any new viewers that are tuning in for the first time. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to download and view this podcast or go to the website and view it. I really appreciate it. I like to say welcome back to my returning viewers. I appreciate all of your support and getting to know you and your camaraderie and fellowship through private messages and emails, comments on the blog, and in the Ravelry group. So welcome back. I wanted to say, like Paula from Knitting Pipeline says, I appreciate all the ways you participate with the Sittin and Knittin podcast. Not only, you don't have to really be an active voice in the Ravelry group, but just downloading the podcast and viewing it, or when I do get very sweet private messages, and just however you participate, thank you for being a part of this community. We have a lot to talk about in a short time. It's 8:48 a.m. and I have to get out of here in about 40 minutes to go to work, but I wanted to take the time to put the podcast out now, at least get my part recorded, and the girls will get their part recorded, and we'll hopefully have something for you. So let's get started. Well, before we go into my regular segments, I did want to take time to send my condolences to the family and friends of Carrie, who is also known as KnitPurlGurl on Ravelry and Plurk and Twitter and all the other social networking places that she was able to participate in. She was a video podcaster. I believe she had an audio podcast in the past, and she had a blog, KnitPurlGurl, and she passed away unexpectedly last Monday, and my condolences and sympathy go out to her family and to her friends. I know that she had not been feeling well. I don't know the details of why she passed away, but I do know it was a sudden passing, and I do understand the pain of sudden passing, of losing someone suddenly. We did lose our daughter on January of 2011, very suddenly, and it's shocking. And I understand everything that they're going through, and so I'd like to say I empathize with them, and they have my deepest sympathy. So I wanted to send my condolences. So let's get on with, another thing. Carrie had sent out a um, shout out to all the video podcasters to wear their ugly sweaters between Thanksgiving and Christmas, ugly Christmas sweaters. And I've been looking for one at Goodwill and things, and I have not found one yet. I hope to get another podcast recorded before Christmas time, and hopefully I will be able to wear that, just kind of to honor her request. And I had posted in her group to her that I was in and I was going to do it. And I haven't been able to find one yet. And that was a little hesitation about me putting out this podcast. I was kind of waiting until I found one, but I wanted to go ahead and get it out. So I did want to do that. I believe tomorrow there is going to be at around noon a moment of, I think that's the time of her memorial, and knitters will be getting together and just kind of maybe knitting and remembering her at that time too, even though they can't be at the memorial. Hopefully I'll get this podcast up before then, and if you haven't already heard, you can take a look in her podcast group, which is the Knit Pearl Friends of the Knit Pearl Girl podcast, and that is on Ravelry and still active. Or you can contact Kagi TM, who is the hostess of the High Fiber Diet podcast. She can have information on that. There's also ways that you can maybe help the family by purchasing Carrie's patterns on Ravelry, and I believe that money will go to her family because it, goes to her account. And so those are ways that we can help, but just prayer, and I know it's going to be a hard time for them. So my condolences go out to them. Let's get started. Okay, out of my hands. Out of my hands, as you can see, is the Hitchhiker. I am finally done with it. This is a pattern by Martina Bem, and I knit it out of Vesper. I lost the tag. I don't remember the colorway. This yarn was gifted to me on my birthday by Nicole, who is Hot Ass Knitter of the Positively Knitting podcast. And thank you very much, Nicole. She knew how much I wanted to try the Vesper yarn. I had never knit with self-striping yarn before, and so I chose to do the Hitchhiker with it. It came out very, very long. I only got 37 points. Here it is. I actually have show notes. I only got 37 points, but I don't know. I guess the points, this is where the points start. And it's very, very, very long. I don't know how long it is. I don't know why it came out so long. Maybe it's because of the way I blocked it. Maybe I didn't need to block it. I don't know. But it's very, very long. It's 37 points. I knitted on US 5, which is 3.75 millimeters. I used my Addy Lace needles. Somebody might be interested in the brand of needles that I use. But a couple things I wanted to say. Oh, I was trying to squeeze out as many points as I could get. And when I went to bind off the last 20, I did Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, which is when you knit one and then you yarn over. It takes more yarn. Look it up to see how. I don't think I could explain it. So for the last 22 stitches, I compromised and used some leftover wool mice or wool miza from my Multnomah. I thought it was going to match a little bit better, but I kind of think it stands out. So I don't know. It's done. I didn't want to rip back. This morning I was thinking, well, I could have went ahead and ripped back and just did that last point. You're supposed to increase 8 times before you make a point. I could have just did 7 times and made a point, and then I would have had more yarn for bind off, but I didn't think of that. I thought I would have enough. 22 stitches. 22 stitches. And so anyway, there it is. You know me and small scarves or small shawls. It is very small. It's just more of just like a triangle scarf, but it has very, 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 very long tails. So I don't know how I'm going to wear it. I have been wanting to knit a cowl, and it's cowl-like. So I think I'm going to just keep it for myself. I did go ahead and give my mom my Hope for her birthday. I'm not sure. I didn't mention that in the last podcast because I still had it. So I've given Mom Multnomah. I've given Mom my Hope, and I think I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. I really like it. I love the yarn. I love the colors. I think it's something that I'll wear daily just because I love the yarn and I'll find a way. So that's what's out of my hands. I have some other finished objects which will kind of go into the out of my hands and in my hands. So we'll just go to what's in my hands. What's in my hands? I am not finished, but I have been working on dishcloths for coworkers. My husband has a group of friends that he kind of sits and has lunch with and chats with at work. There are 6 in that group. And then my coworkers at school where I teach, there are 4 there. So there's about 10, maybe 11. There's a couple coworkers at the retail place that I work at that I was thinking of making dishcloths for. So I have at least 11 pair of grandmother's dishcloths. I thought of at the last minute. I had not planned on doing any Christmas knitting. I think I said that in the last podcast. I don't know what happened. To me, knitting is a gift of love, and as much as I say I'm not going to knit for other people, I always feel compelled. I'm not really obligated. It's just something that I feel like I want to, have to. Not that I have to, but I want to. I guess that's what it is. So, I have been making these. I'm trying to make 2. So this one that I've made is just grandmother's dishcloth. I'm not going to really show each one. But I had some leftover Cotton yarn from Knit Picks. I don't remember the colorway. The information is on my Ravelry project page. But this is Cotton and this is Cotton. And so that's one pair that I have. I was thinking about adding some soap to them, but I think I'm just going to tie them with a ribbon. I also am using Peaches and Cream. And so here's another pair that I have. I have just this one, and then this one is going to go with it. So this and this. That's another pair. Here's another one out of Cotton. The Cotton ones are a little thinner. It's cotton and linen. I don't really... So here's one, and then here's the solid one. So those 2. I think I would prefer the Peaches and Cream, but I wanted to get the Cotton out of my stash. Here's another one. Really festive. But you know, sometimes people kind of wanted to match their kitchen. So I have the solid red one, and then I have the red and white. These Journey made for me. So maybe I'll let her show those on her segment. I didn't know they were in there. I was very happy. Journey offered to knit some for me. She has her own Christmas knitting that she wanted to do, and I've been so intent on knitting these. I don't have a lot of knitting time that I haven't had time to knit things that I want to knit, like the Hitchhiker and different things that I have on the needle. So just her taking time to knit those 2 for me took some weight off of me, and I was very, very glad. Here's another set. I kind of like this one. This. And this. And I have one of these done. And Justice is actually knitting the brown one for me that will go with this. So that's a half of a pair. I wanted to show you, I have this one done out of Knit Picks Cotton. And then I was going to do a solid green one. I was not sure what happened. It was maybe a busy day at work, and I was knitting on my lunch break, and I thought I had increased to the 44 stitches, and I decreased, and I got home and I looked, and this cloth is way small. I have no idea what happened to it. And when I went to get the yarn, because I was going to pull it out and increase to where I should increase, I can't find the yarn anywhere. I don't know. I was knitting in my vehicle. I don't know. A lot of times it happens to me. If I'm talking on the phone, I'm listening to my MP3 player, things just kind of fall in my lap. And when I get out of the car, they all fall onto the ground. It's just, I always throw things in my lap. So I'm wondering if I had it in my lap and when I got out of the car, the yarn fell. I don't know. I cannot find it anywhere. So I was pretty disappointed. I'm not going to give this one away. I will probably keep this for myself. And I went ahead and got some peaches and cream in the green colorway. It's not the same, so this person will be getting a thinner one and a thicker one, but I will be doing that. So that's what I have so far. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and journeys make 6. And then I have another half a pair and another half of the pair. So that's 7, 8, and I need at least 11. I don't know. I'll keep going. My goal is to knit one a day. What I told myself was I started in November, right after I podcasted last time, I think, or right around November 23rd. And I told myself if I knit one a day, then I could do my own knitting. But if I at least got one cloth in a day, I think that was before I decided to do a pair though, that I would have enough to give away by Christmas. So that is another thing that's on my needles. Not very exciting, but I'm having fun matching the colors together. It's addictive knitting, and excuse me for bending out of frame. I'm putting them in my Loopy U bag. I did not win this bag. I've never purchased from the U. Did not win. I did not purchase this bag. I've never purchased from the Loopy U, but I did win this bag in a race for the finished objects from Dramatic Knits podcast. So those are in my Loopy U bag. Also on my needles, I have finished one of the mitts, and I think I call these on Ravelry my Nita Lift mitts. I was getting a little, I talked about my woes in the last podcast with my knitting. And so I wanted a finished object that would really just kind of boost my reasons why I'm knitting. And so I had started the mitts, and I told you I didn't really like them. I thought I was going to rip them out because they were too short here, and I can't remember what else. But I ended up ripping them out and doing them again, and I love the way that they fit. So my mods are on my Ravelry page. I think it's a free pattern, so I don't mind saying before the gusset. Well, I know one other thing. I thought that my ribbing was too short last time. I think I only did 12 rounds of ribbing. This time I have done 20 rounds of ribbing. And then before you start the thumb gusset, you were supposed to do 6 rounds of stockinette stitch. I went ahead and did 12 rounds, and it fits me better. And then before you started your top ribbing, I added more stockinette stitch rows. I can't remember how much it is, but they are done. These are done out of Knit Picks Gloss. They are the Koigu Wristers. I'm sorry, they're the Koigu Wristers, and it's a free pattern on Ravelry. They are by FKD Designs. I'm doing them on US 1 2.25 millimeters. My ChildGoo 40-inch circular needles. And it's Knit Picks Gloss, which is, I think it has some silk in it. 25% wool or 75% wool. And it has some silk, and it's fingering weight. I see right here, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know what happened. There's something with the yarn. I don't know what happened there. I keep picking with it, and I don't want to pick with it too much because I think that I'm afraid to cut it. Let's see, I'm afraid to cut it because I think that it's going to put a hole in the knitting. I've been trying to tuck it back in. I don't know how it got there or why it got there, but it's there, and that kind of bothers me. But I like them. It'll help me to be able to, it gets kind of cold sometimes when I'm on the cash register that's by the door. So it'll help me to keep my hands warm, but be able to still handle money and handle the product. And that is why I wanted to make these for work. And since our uniform is, I'm in uniform, navy blue and tan, I just made them out of the navy blue. I'm working on the second mitt, and I am now working on the gusset part. And again, I'm very thankful to Journey for helping me with the dishcloths. So I'm doing the second mitt, and the pattern does not indicate to do a right and left mitt. I don't know if I wanted to do it for fun or if I did another pair of fingerless mitts. And again, on another episode, I couldn't remember what they were called. But they didn't have a left and a right mitt. And, well, maybe they did. But it was hard for me to realize which one was the left and the right. I don't know. I wanted a left and a right mitt. So I just put the gusset. When we started the gusset for this one, we started it in 6 stitches. So for the left mitt, I started it 6 stitches from the other side. So hopefully it'll work out like that. I don't know if it'll make a big difference or not. It's just something that I wanted to do, but I put those mods on my page too. So that is what's in my hands. My calligraphy cardigan has gotten no love since the last time I podcasted. I think I may have even been knitting on it while I was podcasting and stopped in the middle of a row, and I'm still in the middle of the row. It has not gotten any love. I'm not sure why. After, I kind of get like that with top-down sweaters. After I get through the increase portion and I get separated for the arms and you're just on stockinette body part or whatever, I'm ready to move on. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's been hibernating, but I want to pick that back up. Now that I have this done and I'm almost done with my mitts, I want to get that going. Also, the 5-hour baby sweater that I was working on has not gotten any love since the last podcast. I was working that along with Journey because her and I were doing a knit along. She wanted to do a sweater to enter it into her school convention. And this is her first time doing a top-down sweater, and the increases were kind of tricky, so I wanted to knit along. We were knitting row by row together, and we're just getting ready to divide for the sleeves, but Journey has other knitting that she wants to do. I could go on and finish the sweater and throw it out. I wanted to make it, not throw it out, but just throw it out. I could really zip through baby sweaters. I could zip through pretty quickly and get it off the needles. I wanted to get it to a coworker, but I'm trying to wait on Journey. So in the last 3 weeks, we haven't done any of that. I do have some things I want to cast on, and I will talk about that in my aspirations. I want to draw for our November share contest. We had 11 entries. We had 11 entries, I believe, counting myself. I went to the thread, and I'll always leave the thread open. And I think the question was, are you knitting for Christmas? And if you are, what are you knitting? And if you're not, why aren't you? And so we had 10 people participate. No, you're in your pajamas, go. We had 11 people participate, and I put all their names in my tea jar. And so I will, instead of doing random number for that, I'll pick out here. And the one that I have chosen is Ann MCG. Let's see if you can see that. My handwriting is not the greatest. I just kind of scratched there. Ann MCG. So Ann MCG, you are the winner of the November share contest. So give me, PM me on Ravelry, and you will be gifted a pattern of $7 or less. So thank you everyone who's participated. I also want to take this time to say I really appreciate how you start threads, the conversations that you have, just the camaraderie, and please keep doing that. I really, really enjoy reading them, and it just it makes our group feel homey, and so I like that. I got a private message from someone asking, if they could post twice in a thread. It was a contest thread, and our group is so small, and I'm just writing everybody's names down for the drawing, that you can post as many times as you want or comment on whoever writes something if you want to. Um, as of right now, that's how it is. If we ever grow to 1,000, it may be a little harder for me to, you know, write everybody's name down for the drawing, but I don't think we'll get there. But so yeah, I really appreciate that. I don't know if I mentioned this the last time, but sharing your projects, I think I did. Sharing your projects on the side of the Ravelry page where it says share with the group. When you share with our group, I really, really appreciate that. I love looking at your projects. So thank you so much. And congratulations, Ann MCG. Aspirations. So what I'm aspiring to knit next. First, I wanted to say I would like to knit. I purchased. This is kind of aspirations and goodie bag are kind of in the same category today. I only have about 14 minutes left to go. So I purchased some yarn from a Ravelry D-Stash. It is Hiawassee from Hiawassee Creek Dye Works, and it is in the Willy Wonka colorway. And I would like to cast on a pair of stripy stockinette socks. I have never done stripy socks before. This is my first self-striping yarn. So I think I would like to do self-striping socks with self-striping yarn. So I plan on casting these on. I told myself I could not cast them on until I finish at least the Hitchhiker or the mitts. Now that I am about 40 something percent done with the second mitt, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll wait to cast it on, just because I didn't want a whole lot of things on the needles, and it is small enough. I like to have a big project and small projects, and so anyway, I can cast it on anytime I want to, but I'm trying to wait to cast this on maybe until I finish the mitt. I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I love that story when I was younger. Go out, please. I love that story when I was younger, and this is purples and browns, and it reminds me of the Chocolate Factory and Willy Wonka's. Um, he kind of had a gaudy type of jacket that he used to wear, and I believe his hat was this purple. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to. I think it's just 2 stripes. It must just be 2 stripes. That's all it looks like. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to those. And in my goodie bag, what I purchased, if I can find them, I purchased some Haya sharp needles to knit those on. I usually knit on Chalgoos, excuse me. So I purchased Haya sharp needles, and I got the new ones with the blue cords, and they're 2.25 millimeters, which is what I like to knit my socks on. I get about 9 stitches per inch on there. And I noticed just when I was getting these needles out to show you that this came in the package with the needles. I'm not sure what that is. Is that a stitch marker or what? I'm not sure. But anyway, so I'm excited to try out these Haya sharp sock needles with these. I do own some Haya sharp in larger sizes. I'm knitting my calligraphy cardigan on the Haya sharps size 4. I haven't knitted in so long, I forgot I was using Haya sharps. Thought I had never used Haya sharps, and that's why I ordered these. And lo and behold, as I was going through my knitting needle stash, I already have 3 pair. I just haven't used them. So anyway, that's that. So that is one thing that I'm aspiring to. The other thing that I want to do is, that was kind of in my goodie bag, I made a purchase on Ravelry for a hat pattern called For Good, and it is by Megan Williams. Let me get a picture of the hat. Megan Williams is the hostess of one of the hosts of the Stockinette Zombies podcast, which is one of my absolute favorite podcasts. And she designed this hat in memory of her sister, Melissa, who passed away suddenly about 5 years ago. The proceeds from this hat go to the Women's Health Network and in Melissa's name. And so I purchased this hat. Melissa's birthday was just maybe about a week ago. And I purchased this hat on Melissa's birthday, just to remember Melissa with Megan. I used to knit lots of hats when I first started knitting. Then I started getting discouraged because I had a lot of little children. When I first started knitting, I had 6 children under the age of 12. So I knit lots of baby sweaters and lots of hats, and they got lost and different things like that. So I have not knit a hat in a long time. I said I'd rather pay $2 or $3 for a store-bought hat than spend a whole lot of time knitting on the hat. I was trying to show it again. Knitting on a hat and they lose it. But I do want to knit this hat for the boys or for somebody, just to support Megan. She is a very, very sweet young girl, young lady. And so I've already purchased a pattern in support of her and the Women's Health Network. The Women's Health Network does research, I believe, into drugs and different things like that, to promote women's health. I don't want to get into why Melissa passed away. That's Megan's story, and she shares that on her podcast maybe 2 weeks or so ago. So you can go back and see that. And also Megan has a link on her pattern page to the Women's Health Network where you can find out a lot about that. But this is the reason why I purchased this pattern, and I do plan on knitting that soon. I also would like to knit, and this, I just really thought of knitting this last night, and I did not realize that, or I didn't do it on purpose, but it is called the Zombie Envelope, and it is an envelope for an iPad. My husband is graciously gifting me an iPad for Christmas, and I'm very, very excited about it. And this envelope is by Amy Spindler, who is also the host of the Stockinette Zombies podcast. I did not do that on purpose. It just so happened that I was going through patterns and I thought, oh, that would be really nice. I will probably get a case. My husband has an Android tablet. I will probably get a case or something like this for my iPad, but I know I'll be carrying it around a lot, and so I want to make this zombie envelope. So that is on my queue. I want to talk a little bit about my queue. Last night when I was making show notes and I was looking at my queue to see what I was going to talk about in aspirations, I went through my queue and deleted so many things out. I went from 7 pages to 4 pages. I don't know what I was thinking when I put a lot of those things in my queue, but there was a lot of bottom-up sweaters, which I really, really don't like to knit. I have knit a couple. When I first started knitting, I used, I think it's a sweater workshop, because I learned to knit using Elizabeth Zimmerman's Knitting Without Tears, where she did everything top down, and then the author of the sweater workshop, she did everything bottom up. So I did some of each, and I prefer not to do bottom up. There was a lot of sweaters that were in my queue that were bottom up. I got all those out. There were a lot of shawlettes and scarves. I realized that that's not what I want to knit or wear, so I got those out. There was a lot of baby sweaters and things like that. I got those out. I don't know why I queued those. There will be no more babies here, but you know, as gifts and things like that, I think that's why I queued them. But most of those patterns are in my library, And I thought, if I have those patterns in my library, then I can just, if I need a baby sweater, go to my library and see what kind of pattern I have. I don't have to have it in my queue. So I cleaned my queue out a lot there. So I think that is all that's in my goodie bag. Also in my goodie bag, I wanted to thank, I had gotten gifted a couple patterns by viewers, and I was very thankful. These did not have anything to do with KnitPurlGurl had instituted a random active pattern Tuesday where you can, Tuesday is a day that if you can afford to randomly maybe gift somebody with a pattern. And these didn't have anything to do with that. These two knitters were just thinking about me. It wasn't Tuesday, and it was about a week apart, and they gifted me these patterns, and I just appreciate the thought. I was having a bad day, and I kind of posted that on Ravelry, and Wild Hearted 11, she really brightened my day. She gifted me the Peasy cardigan by Heidi Kermeyer, and I've been wanting to knit that. I think it's bottom up, but I still want to knit it. I saw the hostess of, her name is Ooh Fancy Pants. I can't think of her real name. Ooh Fancy Pants on Ravelry. She's the hostess of What You Swatching podcast, and she just finished that pattern, and it was very, very cute. And I had it in my queue for a long time. So thank you, Wild Hearted 11. That will be up and coming next year. I am going to plan on knitting more sweaters. I was also gifted by Palette PC the Color Affections shawl by Vera Velamaki. I had talked about that on my last podcast, and Palette PC, was just thinking of me, and she wanted to congratulate me on the weight loss, and it was just really sweet. It was really, really sweet, and so I want to thank you all for those gifts. So on to our next segment. For our ASL minute, I wanted to kind of veer away a little. I was trying to kind of keep our ASL signs to knitting related signs, but since it is holiday time, I thought I would, and I don't know what holiday you celebrate, and instead of just doing a Merry Christmas sign or whatever, I wanted to show you how to sign Happy Holidays. Let me see if I can get this a little bit better. Okay, so to sign Happy Holidays, you would do happy, either happy, it's kind of like your heart is on your left side. So, but anyway, it's kind of like you have a feeling of joy or whatever. You're brushing up like this. Happy can be done like this. Flat palms and kind of rub them up from your chest area. So happy, happy, and holiday is the same sign for vacation. And it's like this. It's kind of like, oh, you're sitting back and you're kind of resting or whatever. So you take your thumbs and you kind of tap them where your armpits are. So happy holidays. Happy holidays. And that's our ASL. For our weight loss tip, I had a tip that I want to talk about. I'm not sure if you know about it. I have, since we podcasted over Thanksgiving, I did gain like a couple pounds back. So I'm working on getting that down. And one of the things that I know that I told myself was the reason why I have gained is because I have not been drinking my water the way I should. Water is an excellent tool for weight loss. It gets all systems going and functioning right, and which is very helpful. So you should drink half of your body weight in ounces every day. It's good to start off with at least 8 ounces of water in the morning before you eat or drink anything else, before your coffee, before you eat. Just kind of start off your day with water with a little lemon in it would even be better. But so say you weigh 100 pounds, then you would drink every day 50 ounces of water. So that is my weight loss. on my iPod. What I have been reading, I just finished a audiobook by John Grisham, and it's called The Confession. I thought it was very interesting. When it first started out, it's about a man who had committed a crime, and he goes to a priest and confesses. Yeah, he's a priest, a Lutheran minister, and confesses the crime. And 4 days, in 4 days, another man is to be executed for this crime. And so the minister is trying to think, well, how can we let people know that they're getting ready to execute the wrong man? So when I first heard that, I thought, oh no, this book has, I think, 12 to 15 CDs, and everything is going to happen within 4 days. It's going to be a long, slow book. But it was interesting. It was good. I've never read a John Grisham book. And since I couldn't listen to my podcast in the vehicle, I listened to it, and I thought it was good. It was a good book. There was a lot more to it than just those 4 days, but those 4 days did take up the first half of the book, but it was a good book. So it is something I would recommend. I kind of like, my father was a police officer. He retired as a deputy chief of police. So I kind of like crime books like that. I do. So that's kind of one of my guilty pleasures, I guess. I like Law and Order, if I was to watch something, and I like crime books. So a couple of new to me podcasts, and I'm not sure if I mentioned this one earlier when I first started. I believe she started her podcast around the same time I started mine, and it is hosted by Amanda, who is Elizabeth Quinton Designs on Ravelry, and her podcast is called Knitting in the Sun, and she has 17 episodes. She's a very good knitter, and I enjoy seeing her projects. And so I've been catching up with those. She just put out her 17th episode, I believe, yesterday, but I've started back from episode 1. I had saw her first one, and then for some reason it dropped off the radar and I forgot about it. And then I found it again this past week. So I'm catching up slowly on all of those episodes. So that is Knitting in the Sun, and you can find that at I believe it's on WordPress. I will link it in the show notes. It's also on knittingpodcast.blogspot.com. You can find it there, but I will try to link that in the show notes. And also one I wanted to comment on is the Knitwits are back. They are an audio podcast hosted by Karen and Rick Riley. Very funny and fun podcast. And they had put out about 33 episodes last year. And then they have not podcasted for a year. And so they just started podcasting again. So I want to let you all know, just in case you didn't know, I don't know if maybe after a year you erase them out of your iTunes or whatever. And the funny thing about it was, I was going through and I was cleaning out my groups, and I had just unsubscribed from this group. I thought, oh, they haven't podcasted in a year. It's really no reason for me to be a part of the group. And that same day I saw, but I still had their podcast. I was still subscribed in iTunes, so I saw a new one. And so I was rewarded by waiting. And I hope that they continue to podcast on a regular basis. They have busy lives like all of us. And so, the Knitwits are back. And so that's another fun audio podcast. And let's go to our knitting circle.
Hi everybody, welcome to Journey part of the podcast. I'm your host for this part of the podcast, Journey. So for this week, I do have some finished objects, finally. First, I have a dishcloth that I'm helping my mom make some dishcloths. Here's one. Here is another one, and I have a headband that I made for my dad, but I'm not going to show it. And a halfway finished object is this. I'm making some leggings for my grandma, and there's one of them, and I haven't casted on the other one yet. Next thing I'm doing is a scarf for my dad. See, this is a scarf. It keeps curling because I'm doing knit row, purl row, and I didn't know I was going to do that. So if you all can tell me anyways how to get it to uncurl, that would be a big help. And anything else is another headband I'm working on for my grandpa. It's knit out of sock yarn. And the next thing I'm working on is a scarf for my mom. And this is also knit out of purple sock yarn. And then the next thing I'm working on is that baby sweater for convention that I do have to finish. I just don't have it finished yet. So here's this, and that is all I am working on and knitting right now. So I guess that's all for this week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Hello, podcasting world, and welcome to Quarter Justice. I would first like to start off with saying thank you everyone for coming back, and thank you to all those who are giving me a try. Let's get right into the knitting. For starters, I am working on this dishcloth for my mom. Not for her, but I'm working on it with her. You see, we're making a bunch of these, and she's giving them away, and we're helping her with them. I'm using a size 6 needle, and I like these needles because they're fun and easy, and they're very slippery, so which makes them easy to work with. And I am working on one other project. I don't have much work in progress. I don't have any finished objects at all. I am working I'm working on this shawl. My mom put it on shorter needles, so I can't stretch it out as much as I wanted it to. But, yep, I'm working on the shawl for convention. I started it a time back, but I think it's going to turn out really nice after I get it finished. But shawls do take a lot of time, and you have to be patient with them. So, that's really all I'm working on. That's it for me, and I've been doing some Christmas knitting, but I don't have it with me right now. So that's all for me. I just want to thank you so much. Oh, and I wanted to show you this yummy sock yarn. It is a light pink and white and purple mix with a light blue. Somebody sent that to my mom a while back, and she emptied it out of her stash because she used a few skeins of it already. So that's really all I have for knitting right now. And that's all the time I have. So thank you so much for all those who are returning listeners, and thank you for everyone who has given me a try. And I really am really encouraged by the post that my mom reads to us off the off the group. And thank you all so much for all your kind words and everything. And I am so glad that, that's all I have. So, I am 2 minutes. And so, thank you so much. And have a very Merry Christmas. Bye. Merry Christmas.
For our knitting circle, I kind of wanted to talk about, ask you about our December share. For our December share contest, I was thinking, my husband is gifting me with this iPad. And mostly what I want the iPad for and what I will be using it for is a knitting tool. I will be using it to keep my knitting projects on. I will be using it to access my knitting podcast. Right now, to me, I'm still thinking I like my laptop. I like my buttons on my laptop or keys on the laptop. But I see the iPad, the tablet, as more of a knitting tool. And so I wanted to ask you about your knitting tools. Recently, also, I posted on Flirt that I went through my knitting needles, and I gifted or gave all the girls all of my Knit Picks options. I found that I really don't use interchangeable needles. When I purchase the Knit Picks options, I just purchase several cords, several tips, and I'll just have several sizes. And, you know, just like I never change them. I'm not knitting on something and I'll do the ribbing in one tip and then I'll unscrew it and put another tip on. That's just not something I do. I was talking to another knitting friend of mine and she said she always does it. I prefer fixed circulars. And so I'm kind of looking around, kind of thinking of what my favorite is. I like the Knit Picks real well, and I like their fixed. I don't like their fixed in the sock needle sizes, but I do like their fixed circular. So I gave the girls all of my nickel-plated options. I like the harmonies still. I probably won't be buying any more harmonies, so I wanted to keep my harmonies option. So, but that's that's another thing that I have done to organize my knitting tools. And so I just kind of wanted you to share for December. I know this is not a end of the year, what's your goal type of thing. But for our December share, if I'm not clear, share about your favorite knitting tools. What do you use to organize your knitting, and what are some of your favorite tools and why? I wanted to have my knitting, the notebook that I use to organize our knitting needles, and maybe I'll have the girls show you that in their segment. Yeah, if you can just share your knitting tool, your favorite knitting tool or tools, and why. And I think that would be very interesting and fun. But I see my tablet as an expensive tool. It's not as expensive as a wheel, I guess, but I see it as a knitting tool, and that's how I will be wanting to use it mostly for that. And so just share with me and with everyone else in the group about your knitting tool. Well, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for being with us. I need to hurry out of here. I am 5 minutes late for leaving for work, but I'm glad that I got this recorded. So the girls, when they get up, they will do their segments, and hopefully Journey will edit it. She has a sleepover tonight, so hopefully she'll edit it so that I can upload it tonight. But I wanted to just once again say thank you very much. And you can find the show notes at the Sittin and Knittin podcast.blogspot.com. Thank you for all the iTunes ratings and reviews. And hopefully I'll see you in a couple weeks. If I don't, have happy holidays to you.
I feel I should just slam it down on the table and walk away madly. My stitches don't count up and I missed a cable. This yarn's not the size that it says on the label. Now I can't find which repeat I am on. I think I should have a sit.